Hello and welcome to yet another tutorial of Project Succession. Today we actually learn about integrations and how integrations work in Project Succession. Um, so in our case we have a running Maya instance and we also have a running Blender instance, and obviously we have Project Succession available. So the very first thing we need to do is obviously install the plugins for the respective digital content creation tool, or short DCC. Um, so in this case, let's go to the installation directory of Project Succession. I'm on a Mac, so this is an applications, project succession.app, and then opening the package contents and finding here the contents resources, and there you have your documentations. You can also reach them through obviously the documentations here, right? So this is actually the place where it will open up the documentation from. And it also has a folder called integrations. And the integrations here, you see some of them are just PDF files about how to integrate webhooks, how to how to build your Jira integration or your Slack integration. Like, this is just guides because these are mostly web-based integrations. They don't have any plugin installed. But here, for example, we have the Blender bridge, we have the Houdini bridge, the Maya bridge, the Photoshop plugin, Unity bridge, zip file, Unreal, Painter, and Substance Designer. So all of these obviously are partially um, written in JavaScript, partially written in Python. But what we are interested today is actually the Blender one and the Maya one. So we just copy these out onto a folder we can use. Let me just super quickly open up maybe um, a little folder, rename this to integrations. Um, yeah, here we have it. And I just already copied all of them over here. Let's actually do this once more. Replace the existing ones just to ensure everything is up to date. And then we can close this one, and we have our integrations all in a publicly available folder, not on this app. If you're on Windows, you can just normally install it directly from there. You don't need to copy it out first. So now let's look at Blender first, because Blender is quite straightforward. You can just go to Edit, Preferences, to your add-ons, and there you would install from disk. It's on the desktop and in integrations, right? And there we see all of our zip files, and we are interested in the Blender one. So we just install this, and it's installed. This might take a while if you install it for the very first time, because I'm also installing dependencies alongside. Like, when you load the plugin initially, it will install probably some dependencies for you. So this might take a little while, but in general, after you did this once, we have it here. So you now see here a very little pipeline bridge plugin. There's nothing really there. It's just there to show you, hey, it's actually listening for commands and has created its WebSocket server. So we need to do one more thing. Let's go back to the preferences, because for security reasons, Project Succession will, if we go into the Project Succession settings, if you scroll all the way down, here we have a security tab where by default, it's checked that we will require DCC plugin signatures. That means that only a plugin which has a signed project succession key can actually trigger project succession pipelines. This prevents you from, yeah, basically arbitrary webhooks into project succession, simulating DCC and triggering your pipeline with artificial data. So you can obviously disable this. I would not recommend that though. And if you disable this, the plugin will now work. But the correct way is actually to go down to the API access section, copy this key here, and paste it in this section here. So what this will do is it will now use this key for every send request. So it then will basically sign the request with this key. So we can close this. And now we have project succession, the project succession bridge installed on this machine, on this Blender installation. Let's do the same for Maya. I think Maya is a little bit more complicated because you need to unzip the zip file first. So let's actually just double click it real quick. Yep, so we have here now the folder, and there we have an install succession bridge Python file. If you have drag and drop Python enabled on your Maya, you can do this in your settings. You can just drag it in, and then will get a pop-up. Hey, do you want to install project succession? So you hit install, and the installation was successful. So the next thing is we want to actually go to Windows, Settings Preference, Plugin Manager, find the succession plugin and load it. It also suggests restarting Maya completely. In our case, we might be able to do it without a restart even. So if we go to Windows, Settings Preference, Plugin Manager, and we now search for succession, yeah, it's not there. So in this case, actually a restart is required. So let's restart Maya as it told us to do. This will take just a few seconds. So here we are. And now if we go to Plugin Manager and look for succession, yeah, we see the succession plugin appearing. So we can just load it and put it into Autoload. And now we have a project succession shelf here. We can open it up, and it actually still has an API token in there, but I don't know if it's the up-to-date one. So I just copy this out again. This is all because I already had it installed. And I save and close. And now this is also installed. If you see in the script editor, for example, this Werkzeug thing, it's about here, where this is just using a dev server, like it's just allowing one connection. This was the simplest to set up. Everything else would, yeah, maybe at some point I actually switch this to proper production servers, but at this point it completely works like this out of the box. But yeah, that's it. This is how you install dependencies or like plugins for project succession. So now let's try it actually out. We have a very, very simple I don't know, do we have, let me cancel this. Yeah, let's just start with the Blender file save trigger, right? So here we have our Blender file save trigger. And then we have a Maya Python script trigger just to show you how these integrations actually interact with each other. And then we just print hello from Blender. So this is a very, very simple test graph. We just save it on the desktop in integrations real quick. Test. And now on the deployment dashboard, we can deploy this test.json. So what will now happen is when I have Maya on the left, on the right, so you also see this here, when I now save um, yeah, when I now save in Blender, I actually get in Maya the logs. And this is what is actually the magic of Project Succession. It was like a super simple graph. It was a 2-node setup, and suddenly you have connected your two DCCs. No complicated setups in terms of like writing your own bridges, etc. And you can do anything there, right? This is just Maya Python now. You could say, okay, on Blender Save, we have a Blender export. Do we have a file export model from Blender? Yeah. Where you get an export path. And this would then be a little bit too long for this video now, but you could then even say, yeah, okay, sync it into Maya, right? Like Maya. No, we don't have a file open. Import file into Maya. Well, we even have it here, right? So you can just say, okay, we export it from Blender as an FBX and we import it back into Maya. That's 3 nodes. And this will basically always keep your two DCCs in sync and just running in the background. Very simple setup. Let's actually try this out. I think we have maybe a few minutes left, right? So if I just put this here real quick, let's use the integrations there as a folder location. So we just select this real quick and we don't do test.json, but test.fbx. And we don't even need to type this a second time here as an absolute path. We can just give this an alias. I briefly talked about parameter scripting, I think already, when I talked about parameters. So we just give this a exporter alias, and then here I just set the expression exporter dot export path, and now these two are linked. And let's actually execute this. And in Blender, compared to Maya, let's close this here. We now have this folder. We save it. Does it actually execute already? Let me just quickly double check on my second screen. So when we, yeah, you see, like we now have the entire scene here in, by just saving, I suddenly have everything here, the camera, everything. Let's delete that real quick and try it again. Yeah, here we have it. And if we now, for example, say we want to scale this cube and we save again, this cube is bigger. Make it smaller, we save again, this cube is smaller again. We move this cube, save, and this was literally 3 nodes. Project Succession in this case has so much potential, like really how you can solve these little gaps and these bridges. Just think of writing this yourself. And this is, yeah. I think I don't need to tell you more. Hope you have a nice day and see you around.